It's a light heavyweight encounter in Las Vegas. Dan Tom here with MMA Junkie to help you break down the main event for UFC Vegas 84 between Magomed Ankalaev and Johnny Walker. Of course, these two fought last October and they're going to run it back. Of course, that fight kind of had a weird and ignominious ending, which isn't necessarily out of the norm for either of these two, mind you. But of course, it was a really strange one with the doctor ending it early, a little bit of confusion in the corner there. We really didn't get to see it play out, so they're going to run it back in Las Vegas this time in that smaller cage of the UFC Apex. At the time of this video, the odds makers and the public are heavily favoring Ankalaev in the neighborhood of minus 520 with the comeback on your underdog Johnny Walker in the neighborhood of plus 350. Now, seeing lines this wide, much less in the favor of Ankalaev, is not necessarily a surprise, but kind of like I hinted before, ignominious endings and weird lapses of concentration have kind of been like a theme with Magomed Ankalaev's fights, whether we're talking about that late lapse in judgment against Paul Craig early on in his career, or waiting to get both of his legs kicked out by Jan Blachowicz before deciding to press his takedown advantage. Now, I hopefully don't think it's going to take him that long to press the obvious advantage in this fight, especially that this one will be taking place in the smaller octagon. I always incorporate in that analysis and tend to give, at least on paper, a slight edge to the more dangerous submission or grappler or wrestler, which in this case would be Ankalaev, at least on paper. Walker is a brown belt training at SBG Ireland. I'm sure he's making improvements there, but you don't want to mess with him on the feet. It's a dangerous fight. It's a volatile fight. I don't blame anybody for taking a flyer on the underdog Walker here. I'm not in a rush to bet this fight, but as an analyst, for my pick, I'm going to go with Ankalaev inside the distance for a little more stats like Johnny Walker's southpaw stats, or both of these fighters' stats inside the UFC Apex in particular. Well, you can check out my in-depth breakdown over at MMAJunkie.com where you can find results this weekend.